Oh, hey there, welcome to episode 120 of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is my new Hellfire Club box set. And I've invited a friend to come on here and help me talk about it because he's much more knowledgeable on the subject than I am. So this is my friend Scott. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm Scott. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so I've known Scott, man, we worked at a grocery store together.
We did.
A lifetime ago.
Very many years ago. At least, is it 15 years ago?
Yeah, I'd say
10 years ago?
More, well, 15.
15 years ago? No, 15 years ago I would have been so young. Well, I guess we were so young.
Well, maybe like 13 or something, like, because I've been with Vanessa for like more than 10 now, and like you were around before that. So yeah, it's been a long time.
Oh God. Hold on, do I have it? I do. Right here, I have the 5-year pin of my 5-year anniversary for whenever I did work at that grocery store.
Nice.
Why do I have that right by here?
You got it very handy too. I think you're waiting to show that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, we worked at Sobeys here in Atlantic Canada, and well, I'm still in Atlantic Canada. You're now in the big city in Toronto.
Woo-hoo. That's right.
But yeah, you were like a staple of the neighborhood Sobeys. How long did you work there?
In total, like in my Sobeys career from like PEI and Nova Scotia, it was 9 years, which means I was like 1 year short of getting the 10-year pin. Wow. Which is kind of, it doesn't kill me inside, but Sarah Blynn got the 10-year pin, and so it kills me that she got it and I didn't get it. So whatever.
Shout out to Sarah Blynn, by the way. I'm sure she's watching.
Yeah. But what was crazy was after Halifax, I went to Korea, and people would recognize me in Korea for working at that Sobeys in Halifax. And I'm not kidding, it happened twice, like just out on the town one night. But I was like, what? Because it used to happen to me all the time in Halifax. But I mean, in Korea, like, when are you gonna ever expect to be recognized from a grocery store?
That's pretty weird.
It was wild.
But you're a memorable guy, so like.
I guess.
But yeah, like I was only there for a year-ish, thereabouts. Like
the Sunday guy. You were the Sunday guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I worked directly across the street at the Blockbuster Video.
Yeah.
Yeah, rest in peace, Blockbuster. And so I would run across the street some days and work one job next. And there was just that rough year when I was trying to make ends meet and I needed a little bit of extra income. So I took the job at Sobeys. We've been good pals ever since. Yeah. Although we haven't. This is the first time we've talked.
Yeah.
Since Miguel's wedding 6 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. That's how I roll, though. Like, every time I have like a reaction, like a reunion with someone, it's always like, I haven't talked to you in like years and years. And I'm like, yeah, that's just me. Yes, nobody take it personally.
The last time we hung out was like our friend Miguel, and if I have any really loyal, long-time viewers on here, they've met Miguel. He did an episode with me once, and it was Miguel's wedding in Mexico, and I don't think I've talked to you really since that. So pretty crazy. But the reason that you're on here, I didn't just randomly think I'll just call some friend from 6 years ago and have them review box it with me, but your shirt there. You're a big X-Men fan.
Yeah.
We recently kind of started chatting because we didn't even like really talk to each other on Messenger or anything for a few years. But then on Instagram, you recently started your Great X-Mentations.
Yes.
Which that's one of those things when I heard that name, I was like, that's brilliant. And like, how was that not already taken?
Okay, good, because I go between is this funny or is this lame every single time I say it, because I'm like, I like the pun, it's a book reference, obviously, and like we're talking about comic books, but like, is it just lame? Am I too nerdy for it? But I like that you like it without me having to say, is it cool? Validate me.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool. I was like, how could nobody, like, it seems like everybody has anything. Like, if you ever try and like make a username on some site, like I try like Island. Oh, Mike Island 1, Mike Island 2, Mike Island 100. And you're trying, like, I'll try something weird, like Halifax Godzilla King. And, like, that's taken. You're like, what? And so the fact that when you see a name like that you can just take Great X-Mentations, this late game, you're like, how did nobody take that already?
Cool. I had to snatch it up.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you're an X-Men fan, and you might be if you're watching this video, follow Scott on Instagram if you're not already. Lots of funny little comments and cool panels from old X-Men comic books. And now you're on YouTube as direct competition to me here, right?
Dun, dun, dun. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So, yeah, follow him on it. And the channel is just called Great X-Mentations.
Great X-Mentations, yeah.
Yes. So, when I got this box set in this week, I was like, I'm going to review it. And I thought, and we had actually talked a little while ago. I kind of said, maybe you should join me for a show sometime when we kind of reconnected. And I thought, well, this is the perfect one because it's X-Men related. And that is a blind spot for me. I'm like a Marvel junkie, and I have been since I was 8 years old. But even as a kid, me and my older brother Doug, we kind of split collecting the Marvel Universe. So I was Spider-Man and cosmic stuff, and he was Captain America and X-Men. But then when we kind of grew up and moved out on our own, I kind of picked up on some of his stuff. I started reading Captain America, and I started reading Iron Man, but I never really picked up on the X-Men. So I only kind of remember what I read as a kid, which was, a relatively small window of time. And yeah, I only pick up the most random X-Men book every now and again, and I'm completely lost when I do, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what's
not an easy world to just dive into either. If you're a casual X-Men reader, just going to the store and being like, oh, I guess I'll see what they're up to, and you pick up an issue, you're just like, what the hell? Like, the mutants are a very, very messy bunch in Marvel's world, I find, and so it's a commitment. It's a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, like when I try to think of what I did read recently, like there's the most recent relaunch of the New Mutants. That was always kind of one of my preferred books, the young teen X-Men. And I kind of thought, okay, well, they're relaunching it. They've got the original team back. Maybe they're going to kind of, at least early on in the series, not get too bogged down with other weird continuity stuff. But right away, like they're on the mutant island of Krakoa, whatever, and I'm like, I kind of am vaguely familiar with that, but I'm like, okay, I don't really know what's going on. And Cannonball's living in outer space because he's married to somebody. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, too much stuff going on, and so yeah,
already are out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to continue with the second volume of that, but
yeah. Well, the new age on the Krakoa Island is a very cool one. It's different conceptually. It's a little bit heady, but like I recommend it for anybody who is looking to dive in and just test out these waters.
So like if you started with House of X and Powers of 10 or whatever, if you start there, are you good to go?
A lot of people start there. I always get, in Instagram and on YouTube, I always get so surprised whenever I find out people who started with this relaunch and then they don't know, like, of course, I know the past, I know the history, I know everything, but they don't, and they're just going straight from this. So I do think that it has its own credible starting off point just with House of X, Powers of 10. Yeah. It's not, you won't get the richness of the interweaving stories at all, but it's enough for you to kind of grasp the new world and understand kind of what the threats are for the mutants and like what they're trying to achieve. And from that end, I think that it's an entertaining jumping off point. But I mean, for longtime readers, it's a lot more of a richer experience because there's so many little things that are just being woven into.
And like, are all mutants kind of like pals now?
Everyone's friends and everyone's back. In a nutshell, that's what's happened. And they've managed, I mean, that's kind of like whatever. It's a wishy-washy storyline subject because it's like, well, death is always like the big thing to like any kind of, as a threat to any hero. So if you take away death, like, there's nothing exciting in terms of any kind of mission or anything. Yeah. But they're like, it's a bigger ordeal and they're like kind of weaving in how that affects everybody and the downfalls of that. So, but no, and that's why I think it's a jumping off part, because everybody who you might have ever heard of in X-Men lore is like basically back already, and villains and heroes are working together.
So who do they fight?
Humans.
Fair enough.
There's like squabbling amongst themselves as well. And I
Yeah.
mean, I like the villains. They're still villainous, and so they're not always like on the side of angels, even though they're fighting with the X-Men. So that whole Civil War concept, like strife internally, that happens. But I mean, there's lots of cosmic shit happening, and there's a lot of humans trying to still get rid of mutants, which is always, when it comes down to it, it was always kind of the mythos of X-Men, is that humans fear mutants. They fear what they do not understand.
Yeah, and when I first heard, like, guys like Sabretooth, whatever, were just now palling around on the island with the other guys or whatever, it's like, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a good idea, bringing everybody together, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I was a big fan of IDW's Transformer books.
Yeah.
Multiple companies, like I read all Marvel's Transformer books back in the day, and then another company, Dreamwave, had their take on Transformers for a while, and then IDW did it for several years, and it's the same shit. They were good comic books, but it was always Megatron's got to fight Optimus Prime, and
Yeah.
one day they just said there's peace, and they kind of restarted Transformers with a new #1, and the war was over.
How
And
did that hit you?
and you're like, how are you going to tell this story now? Everybody's hanging out together, and yeah, it was always more interesting for because there's all this, like, it wasn't a war, but there was all this drama kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot more subtler.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that era of Transformers.
I would say it sounds very similar to what's going on, because like in this era, like the first wave is kind of done. They're on to like the second act now, and the third act is like coming soon. But the first act, very much like the apocalypse redemption story, is what I think really drove that home. Because when you think of like the rogues gallery of X-Men, you've got like Sabretooth, Mr. Sinister, like Mystique, like there's the big names, right? And so Apocalypse is one of the big names, and he's one of the worst of the worst. And so for him to kind of have that been humanized, and for you to like finally see and understand and empathize Apocalypse's side of his whole like ideology, it was the thing that I think really hooked a lot of people in to the first wave of this relaunch. And he's not in it anymore right now, but like that was if I was going to say it was like an example of a character who like was a villain who kind of like came over here and exemplified what they're trying to do in terms of reader interest, I think it would be the Apocalypse storyline.
Okay, now I don't want to go too far down this wormhole here, but something you just said just made me think of it. So you just started rhyming off some of their villains, Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So my friend Brandon, who might watch this, I think he watches some of my episodes here. He was over at my place a while back, and he kind of asked me, who do you think has the best rogues gallery in comic books? And me, as a lifelong Spider-Man fan, I think he wins hands down, with the only competition potentially being Batman. Batman's got a lot of great villains. So if somebody said I think Batman's better than Spider-Man, I'd give it to them. But like for me, it's Spider-Man. But Brandon was trying to make the case of the X-Men, and I was like, are you kidding me with the X-Men? And like I like a lot of those guys you're talking about, but when I think of Mr. Sinister or the Hellfire Club compared to the Scorpion and Dr. Octopus and Venom, it's like it's not even this. But you, as a huge X-Men fan, do you think the X-Men have the best rogues gallery, or would you?
Absolutely not. No, I objectively, I'm very good at looking at things objectively, and I love a lot of the X-Men villains. I think they're super interesting and dynamic in their own way, but I wouldn't say there's only like a very small handful that are iconic, and I think it's like the one that I like listed off. Whereas like I'm gonna say Batman has the most iconic rogues gallery, because if you think of him, it's like you can say a name and it's like people are gonna get a lot of them without even having to pretty much ever seen like the show or read a comic book. They're just gonna know who it is.
Yeah, like my mom could probably name 6 or 7 Batman villains.
Exactly. Yeah, and to me that's what iconic rogues gallery is all about.
Yeah. Okay, so I was just checking with you on that, but
I would love to say it's the case. I would love to say the X-Men have it, but I don't think they do.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is like I think some of the characters, the villains, are cool. Yeah. But I just think the team dynamic of the heroes hurts the villain, because the villain, either you need a team of villains, and there's no way you're going to have a whole strong, because like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants or Strife's crew, there's a couple of but there's a lot of duds, amongst
A lot
those.
of clunkers in there.
Yeah. So then you need some either like a guy that's all powerful. It's just not as fun to watch 6 X-Men beat up on Mr. Sinister as it is as
Yeah.
Spider-Man just going mano a mano with, the Hobgoblin or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the X-Men themselves are part of the problem.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so the box that I got, I ordered this from Hasbro Pulse. As far as I know, this was a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, although I think it was made available very limited in some stores. So this is the Hellfire Club box set.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
It is very nice packaging. This very kind of reflective Hellfire logo here. This little scoop just slipped off of it, but there's not much to say on there. So yeah, here's the set. And it was a long wait for this thing. Like, I was on the fence whether I should even get it, to be honest, because I'm not a 100% completist when it comes to Marvel Legends. There's just way too many of them to collect. And one of the areas that I probably skip a lot of figures is the X-Men. Like, for one, they just keep making them in new costumes. I'm fine with one Cyclops. I don't need a dozen of them. And, like, I passed on characters like Omega Red and stuff. I'm like, you know what? He's kind of neat, but he's not one of my personal favorites, And these guys, $35 a pop. They put out like 100 of them a year.
Yeah.
So you got to skip some. So when these guys, I don't think are all that exciting, as far as characters, the way they look visually. But because it was an exclusive on Hasbro Pulse, it's kind of like if I don't get it and then I regret it later, it's probably only gonna skyrocket in value and be really hard to get. So I thought I better just pull the trigger and order one. Plus the fact that my brother wanted one. My brother Doug, who I mentioned earlier, he collects X-Men. He still does. He wanted one, so I was like, all right, well, if I'm ordering 2 of them, I'll lump the shipping together and maybe we can save some cost or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so it arrived. Finally, I ordered this thing, I want to say, I don't know, close to a year ago. Like, it took forever. I don't recommend pre-ordering things from Hasbro Pulse if you don't have to, but when it's an exclusive like this, you kind of have to. But like, they sell their regular G.I. Joes and their Transformers on their site, and everybody gets them from Walmart and stuff sooner than Hasbro themselves, which seems weird. You'd think Hasbro would have first dibs at the things they're producing, but they seem to get them last. So anyway, the box here, you've seen that. So the gate on the front, so that's all pretty cool.
Yeah.
On the back, we've got portraits of the 4 characters contained inside here.
Uh-huh. This is gorgeous. Gorgeous packaging. Very exclusive, just like the club itself.
Yeah, and then when you pop this gate open, like, it's got a little Velcro, I think.
Wow.
So there you see you get some portraits there. And some more portraits on this side. And then you've got this big old portrait in the middle, which I don't know if do they expect me to hang this on my wall? I don't know.
You can never throw this box out. This is a box you keep on display somewhere forever.
So anyway, here's the portrait. So I can hang that on my wall, I guess, if I wanted to.
Wow. To someone like me, that's so gorgeous. Who's like a fan of this, like, and I love the Hellfire Club. That is gorgeous, absolutely beautiful and breathtaking. And I'm so jealous that I don't have it.
There's a little invite inside here, I think. And yeah, I meant to mention this earlier too. So this is actually perfect timing to talk with Hellfire Club because I don't know if that invitation comes out. Actually, it looks like that's actually just printed right there in the box. I thought there'd be a little card I could slide out, but it doesn't. I don't think so. It's just meant to look that way. That you can see writing, but I don't know if it's continues on. But anyway, yeah, the Hellfire Club are currently being featured in the comic books, right?
Yes, it's a big deal, big event of 2021.
And yeah, your channel kind of blew up a little bit because of So why don't you just talk a little bit briefly
Because of
about
the fashion. Yes. So the Hellfire Club, which is now the Hellfire Trading Company. And so part of what has happened with the new island nation of Krakoa, they've changed gears, and the Hellfire Trading Company is all about administering the mutants' miracle drug, which is whatever, I'm not going to get into it, but they're essentially giving drugs, which are like good drugs, to like island nations that need them in other countries, and they're working on smuggling back mutants who can't get into Krakoa as well. So that's kind of the Hellfire Club's deal now. But they're throwing a big ball this summer called the Hellfire Gala, and it's going to be the first event of Krakoa, the nation. Their like display of kind of power and like sovereignty in the world, and they're meeting with their human world leaders and allies for the first time, and everyone's getting dressed up like it's the Met Gala for it.
Yeah, and like I've watched some of your like snippet videos and stuff, the little showings of what they're wearing. So Marvel's teased like all these fancy outfits and
Yes, that's been the big thing.
You definitely want to check it out. All right, so here are the figures inside. So I can't really see what I'm showing you, but you can see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 4 figures in there. You see all 4?
Yep.
Okay. And so some cool. The background is pretty cool with all those.
Awesome.
And there's some random accessories in there, like you got Magneto's helmet, a book. What book is that? Is that something significant? Do they have like a Necronomicon or something?
I don't know. Maybe it's the guest list for the Hellfire Gala.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, so yeah, this lifts out of the box there, so pretty cool. Now, I considered whether I should open this before I called you or not.
Uh-huh.
It's probably going to be a little noisy while I pop these guys out of here. So maybe I'll do that, but I'll edit that out of the video.
Let's do it that way then, yeah.
So I'll pop these open. We'll just chat off script for a minute. And then once I get these guys all open, we'll discuss the individual.
That sounds good.
All right.
Wait, I'm going to go get some water then. If I'm like, are we on intermission?
Yeah, I'm not going to stop the recording, but
yeah,
I'm going to edit this out. So yeah, you go do what you got to do.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, I think she was cheating on me with a guy that she works with, and I think she's actually pregnant with his baby. We found all this out in one fell swoop. And we're like, what? Okay, so we're going to come back here. Ready?
Okay.
Yeah. And we're back. Okay. So 4 figures here. Is there anybody you want to look at or talk about first?
Let's start with the most boring one first, which in my opinion is Donald Pierce. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. And so Pierce. So can you see him all right?
Yeah.
So was it Kevin Bacon played him in the movie?
No. I don't think he played the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, he played Shaw. Okay. So like, what can you tell me about Donald Pierce?
Oh God, he's so just blah. He's actually a cyborg, and so is there a robot hand there or anything as the attachment?
Well, I was pulling out all the accessories, and I did notice these metallic hands, and I didn't know what they were for.
Okay.
So he's a cyborg, is he?
He's a cyborg, and it was like a reveal because whenever the Hellfire Club captured the X-Men, Wolverine like sliced at him, and then it was like circuitry, and so that's how they discovered that he was a cyborg. Okay. But he was part of the Hellfire Club. I guess he's the White King, or White Bishop, or one of those. But he didn't really last that long, because then he became like the founder of the Reavers. And the Reavers, do you ever see Logan, the movie?
Yeah. And so that young guy who played him?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, that young guy was a much cooler version of him.
Yeah.
But
yeah. What's that guy's name? He was in the Predator too, but
I have no idea. But he reminded me of Ryan Gosling. But yeah, no. So the Reavers are they're a much more menacing threat, and him working with them is cooler.
And that's what I was associating him with too, like that name. And I'm like, yeah, isn't he a Reaver guy? That makes sense. The Reavers are all cyborgs, right?
Yes, and in fact, I think 3 of them are X, you know, the Hellfire goon, like the Hellfire Club goon, like the guy in the mask, basically. Yes, that guy.
I was
So,
gonna get to him. He's not part of the box set, but I was gonna ask you about him later. But yeah, okay, that guy.
well, the Reavers. So the Reavers are ex-goons who were also maimed by Wolverine, and like basically he like sliced their arms off and stuff, and so they got cybernetically enhanced, just like Pierce. And
Is that from when he was down in the sewer, being like,
that's the issue. Where is it? I
yeah,
think I have it. Yeah, it's like this one. Yeah,
okay, nice. You're
yeah.
sliding for a little bit the other way because I
Oh,
don't. The way I've got our cameras, it's gonna be split down the middle. So yeah, you kind of have to stay centered. Okay, cool.
okay, yeah. Yeah, and so these guys, so like Cole and Macon and Reese, I think is their names, and they're the like the other Reavers, which is I thought so cool because you never like these goons, they literally have no identities, and so it's just
Yeah.
like putties, like Mighty Morphin Power Ranger putties basically. But for them to actually have developed into like characters, like long-lasting characters, I thought was awesome.
What's the thing? They made a Marvel Legend of Skullbuster.
Oh, did they? What a
Yeah,
random choice.
and the other thing is, so like he came with. They used mostly Deathlock's body, like repainted and retooled.
Right.
But he came with two heads, so you can either make him Skullbuster or Pretty Boy. Is that?
Oh, I was gonna say, I was hoping it's Pretty Boy because
Yeah.
Pretty Boy is just so pretty.
The thing is, so it's like, well, I'm not gonna. I like again, X-Men's not really my cup of tea, and
Yeah,
the Reapers, they're not hella exciting to me either. But
yeah.
like Skullbuster, I bought 'cause I thought it looked really cool, and I do remember them from the '80s reading the comic books. But I'm like, now I've got this extra head. I would like to make a Pretty Boy, but I don't know what to do with it. Now, it just so happens in order to get a Build-A-Figure, I had to buy a bunch of extra Deadpools I didn't want. And so right now, I've got Pretty Boy's head on a Deadpool body. It doesn't look good, but at least it allows me to put them out there. But what I've seen a lot of people do is now that they're making 6-inch G.I. Joes, people are buying Gung Ho's body.
Okay.
Figure, and they're putting the Pretty
Yeah.
Boy head on it,
Yeah.
and it matches perfectly. It looks awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, maybe if I ever find a cheap Gung Ho, I'll do that, and then I'll have a good Pretty Boy figure.
You can put him on a Transformers body too, and he just got super upgrades.
I could. All right, so now looking at the figure itself, I'll probably do a little bit of some cutaways later. I'll just shoot some
Yeah.
so people can see them clearly. But yeah, he's pretty boring. I would say like he's a guy in a stuffy outfit with a collar. I'm like he almost needs a powdered wig. I can make a custom like Mozart or something with him.
Yeah.
His little buckled shoes, the socks are up. But like it's a nicely made figure. Like he's got double jointed knees and double jointed elbows, so you get a good range of motion on there, good bend on him. And the coat, it's like a soft, good coat, so it doesn't hinder his articulation. You can move around pretty good. So yeah, a kind of a boring character, and yeah, not one if you were sitting on a store shelf. I don't think too many kids would be interested.
Nah, and there's much better Hellfire Club members. Like I would not even have put in there. Like Harry Leland, I think would have been a much better choice and much more
Yeah.
unique. But yeah, we get what we get, I guess.
All right, so let's take a look at Shaw. So
Yeah.
he's like the head honcho, right? This is like the black.
Yes. This is the Black King. He's like basically the Lord Imperial is kind of what they refer to the head of whoever is in charge of the Hellfire Club at any given time. So he's the Black King and the Lord Imperial, and he just has all kinds of dastardly schemes for those menacing mutants.
And he like I read my brother's comics as a kid, but I haven't seen him like he doesn't really pop up in Spider-Man books or anything very often, if ever.
Yeah.
But I did just recently pick up like I'm a fan of Jack Kirby's Machine Man, and I have the old series.
Ah,
But just not too long ago, Strange Adventures, our local comic shop here in Halifax, they're always putting up bundles of old comic books on on Instagram, and so they put up a 90s Machine Man comic book, which I'd never read. And I was like, hey, I'll take that bundle of, 10 Machine Mans for like
Yeah.
$5. And so I read through it, and Shaw was the main villain
Yeah.
in that. Because they were trying to tie Machine Man to the X-Men a little bit then.
Yeah.
Because his name is Machine Man, but he's also referred to as X-51. And this title was actually called X-51 rather than Machine Man to make him seem more X-Men-like.
Much more marketable.
Yeah, and it was the first book I've read with Shaw in it, probably since I was reading my brother's comic books when I was 8 years old. And it was just kind of interesting that I had pre-ordered this figure. I was still waiting on it, and now I was reading a story about him that I didn't know he was in that when I picked it up. So
yeah.
So this is a better figure, but it's basically the same figure. Like I think from the neck down they're the same.
Yeah, it's the same silhouette. It's that like stuffy kind of, I don't even know what era this is. Victorian? I have no idea, but like old, like the Avengers style, like not Avengers, but like old European TV show Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually has a better, well, not a better costume, but here's like an picture of him, which I'm kind of like, what if they had done him in that horrible costume? Would that have been better? That's like his like fighting costume that he wore for like 2 issues.
If he came like that, and then he's still in this stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I don't mind that they reuse the parts because it makes sense. Like, they invent, like, it's a nice sculpt and everything. So if they put the investment into making it, they might as well milk it for all it's worth. Like, it makes sense to use for both of these guys. This guy's got a bit more interesting head sculpt. He's got the sideburns. He's got the little ponytail, all that sort of shit.
Yeah, so. The mutton is very much part of his like classic silhouette.
Now, do you know? I'm sure he didn't make it, but like, did he make it into the '90s Toy Biz line at all, or is this the first Sebastian Shaw figure ever?
Not that I can remember. I'm not like an expert on the toy lines, but I don't think like nothing comes to mind on Sebastian Shaw. The only ones that I think really made it into was the Emma Frost and Selene, but I don't know if Sebastian did.
Okay, well, let's take a look at. Well, anyway, before we get into the ladies, I want to look at a couple. So we've got this book. It is called. I don't know. It's got the Hellfire logo on the front, but otherwise, it's got some sculpted gibberish. It doesn't actually say anything. And there's some diagrams, but again, it's just gibberish. So I don't know what that
Charts.
Yeah. Then they've got Magneto's helmet, and I do remember from the Kevin Bacon movie in X-Men First Class, he had a helmet like this. What's the tie to the helmet with that?
So the tie here is because once upon a time, so the characters that you have are essentially Black King, Black Queen, White King, White Queen. And so I'm guessing that Donald Pierce is the White King there. But for a time, Magneto was the White King. And so he had joined, and it was whenever he was like allied with. Yeah. So that's kind of the main purpose, I think, of it being there, is to symbolize Magneto's time as the White King when he was in the Hellfire Club.
Okay, now this is kind of a weird one too. It's like a folded Wolverine mask, like a hood. Like, this is probably intended for an existing Wolverine figure.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Whenever he's taking it off.
Because like, I have a yellow Wolverine, but the mask is sculpted on his face, and they have made Wolverine figures where he's on a motorcycle and he's Patch or he's whatever, he's Logan. So I guess maybe this is intended that if you pop the Wolverine head off, put the Logan head on the yellow body, you could put this around his neck.
Yeah.
Maybe to recreate a specific scene from the Hellfire Club or something, but it seems kind of like an odd throw in here.
Then
there is a bunch. Everybody's got extra hands, so nothing too exciting there. Then there's a couple little guns.
Oh yeah.
A couple little sci-fi kind of guns here. Nothing too exciting, but yeah. Anyway, so let's look at the ladies. So we'll take a look at the White Queen. So she's probably the best known of all these characters, Emma Frost, because she became an X-Men, right?
Yes, and she is, in my opinion, I still kind of consider her a modern X-Man because she joined after the 90s, basically. And
Yeah.
so no one since then who has joined the team has really achieved the same level of like acclaim that she has in terms of
Yeah.
fandom. Yeah.
Yeah, like she's a fan favorite for, obvious reasons, but yeah, like she's been in, like I know January Jones played her briefly in Wolverine Origins. Was she in the other ones too? Like, yeah, she was in First Class, right?
She was, I mean, technically she was in Wolverine as like she was like a captive because she
Yeah.
also she's a telepath, but she can also turn her skin diamond hard. And so she was a captured mutant in one of those Wolverine movies. And then in the X-Men one, she was the Emma Frost White Queen, but she was also in the Generation X TV movie as like one of the leading roles. So she's had like her fair share of, and then she was in the animated series and the Pride of the X-Men. So she's had her fair share of like screen time for those
Yeah.
who are watching them.
Now, when I get to the Black Queen, I think there's a decent chance they might share a sculpt the same way the men do. You want to see, like, the guys are like extra stuffy,
Yeah.
like bearing it all. Is there significance to the skimpy outfits other than the fact that it's just men designing these costumes, or is there like a reason why they were wearing like underwear around?
Well, I think I mean I don't know much about that era that like this is referencing. It might
Yeah.
have something to do with that, but they do address it in the comics.
Yeah.
And they do mention, and it's funny because with Emma specifically, it's very much her saying, I dress this way because that way I have power and I control the narrative, if you will.
Yeah.
And so it's like a backup story in one of the like classic X-Men issues where like one of the new maids is like, why do we have to wear this? And she kind of talks about how it's more empowering for you to choose what you wear in this way. I mean, you can and like take whatever you want from that, but
Yeah.
that's how they justified it.
Now, I want to ask you about this. So, it kind of seems like about time we got this figure. I think they probably could have released her carded, in Walmart.
Oh yeah.
A little racy maybe, but like people would probably still want and buy her. They did release her a couple of years ago. I think it was a Walgreens exclusive. But so this is the Emma Frost I had before, and I think a lot of people were like, at least me, because I know her from her most iconic look in the '80s. Maybe this was really popular on her at one point, but like I looked at it and I was like, this is the Emma Frost you're gonna give us?
Very brief. She wore this during like there was a schism that happened where like Cyclops and Wolverine had their own, and so she wore this during that era where she went with Cyclops, and she was more like not like evil. She was still a hero, but it was darker. It was the darker side of the X-Men.
So when she was wearing this, was she the Black Queen, or is she still just Emma Frost?
She was still Emma Frost. She got accused later of wearing the Black Queen's clothes, and so like Selene got some revenge there. But overall, not. She's still like the White Queen. She's just dressing of a different sort.
Okay, and I was wondering if, like, when I got this figure, I knew she had like a new cape and stuff, but I was wondering if the base figure was going to be the same as this one. Looking at them side by side, they're not. This looks to be pretty much an all-new sculpt. Like the corset there with the stitching up the middle is all new. It's different from her, which is just bare skin. The boots are different. And the heads are the same, though. So they reused that head sculpt, which I'm fine with. It's repainted. I think this one looks probably a little nicer with the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
But this figure actually came with two heads. This one is the kind of what I would consider the more classic head. And then she had like her long, flowy blonde hair too. It looked a little again, not a look I really associate with her, more like the new X-Men kind of style. And so anyway, makes sense that they would reuse his head because it was a good one.
All right. It's good though. I really like that White Queen figure. I think she looks fantastic.
She does. And they use the same parts, new cape, but instead of the Black Queen, now this one's kind of interesting. Because that's Jean? Or
That's Jean slash Phoenix. Yeah, but it's Jean Grey as her Dark Phoenix, pre-Dark Phoenix moniker. She was the Black Queen for like 2 issues or like a very short period of time, which is why I find it strange that they include Donald Pierce and not Mastermind in this 4 set, because it was through Mastermind's like manipulations that she even became this, and so that's why it would have made sense to me as like an overall collective idea.
Okay.
But yeah, this is Jean Grey or Dark Phoenix. The jury's like out on how you want to refer to her as when she's Black Queen.
Now this, believe it or not, as far as the current Marvel Legends go, like I've had Jean figures over the years in 90s Toy Biz and the 3 3/4 inch figures and stuff. But this is my first Jean. I have like probably a couple hundred Marvel Legends figures. I think about 300. And this is my first Jean Grey of any sort. And yeah, so it's kind of a weird one to have my first incarnation. But yeah, I passed on the previous Phoenix versions of her, and I plan to get there's a new one out now where she's got kind of a classic outfit, but I think maybe it's her current modern outfit with the yellow spiky mask and
the green mini dress. Yeah.
So yeah, I plan to get that one, and that'll be kind of my default Jean. But so yeah, this one's got a really nice head sculpt though. It's a shame that I'm going to have to pop this off and throw it in my spare parts bin, because this figure does come with an alternate head.
Oh.
I believe this is one of your all-time faves, right?
Oh, my heart. Oh, be still my beating heart. Yeah.
Very nice.
Selene.
So did you get this figure?
I did, and I have it right here. Look at that. So this is what it looks like on the and I got this for Christmas, and it was just like a surprise. So I don't have the full box like you do.
I didn't think you had the set. Yeah. Not pretty easily.
Yeah. Oh, yours did? I had to like put mine underwater. I like wouldn't fit, and I was like, I've never done this before, so I had to like YouTube how to.
Scary.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared to push it on.
Well, okay. So maybe you might have to do some sort of water treatment to it.
Yeah, I do. I use the hair dryer.
Oh.
Softens the plastic.
Yeah.
So that's a shame if I can't. But you can show yours then if I can't show mine. But
yeah. This is. Oh, you got it on basically.
It's sitting on there.
The one thing that whenever I read about this figure as well, when the head's on, is that you can't really turn it because the hair gets in the way there.
Yeah, which happens with a lot of the female figures.
Yeah.
And the cape too, like the cape, the way it drapes over her shoulders, it really kind of hinders her movement a little bit there.
Yeah. From a character perspective, I will just say as well that the little like rose here doesn't make a ton of sense for Selene. I totally know it's part of like the Dark Phoenix Black Queen, but I mean overall, as a Selene super fan, this is like a holy grail that it even exists. So I'm not complaining at all, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, and she comes with they've given her Black Cat's little whip here.
Yes, and I didn't get the whip with mine because I think my boyfriend bought it off like eBay or something, and so I didn't get that. But the whip is like, I mean, it goes with her.
Yeah, because like, I remember, was it a cover of New Mutants that she's standing there with the whip at one point, or like, I don't know, or maybe I think something. You know what? I think I'm maybe thinking of an Emma Frost one where she's balancing the.
You might be. Here's a Selene card though, where she's like hanging out with the whip.
Do you have that other Selene figure there handy?
Oh my god, I do. You don't mean this one, do you?
Yeah, that one.
She-Force.
Yeah, so you posted that on Instagram not too long ago. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a 90s kind of throwback.
Look at the articulation.
Yeah, she's dressed a little more appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, so side by side, these are the two Selenes. Obviously, an upgrade.
We'll get all three of them up there. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to mess with her head later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so when Hasbro put that box set up for sale. They also put this guy up. And he was a little different because he was sold in like a little white rectangle box, like not like the kind of box you'd expect to see a Marvel Legend in, where you can see the figure in a window and it's got packaging with artwork on it. It was like a little teeny white solid box, and they sold them for cheaper than a normal figure because I think they thought this isn't a mainstream character. People aren't really going to buy it up at Walmart necessarily, but collectors will want to army build them, so we'll sell them for cheap directly to the consumer. And so yeah, I bought two. I bought one for me and one for my brother. And he is a really cool figure. Like, would have been pretty inexpensive to make because he's using, I'm sure from the neck down, he's just like Spider-Man or something. But then they just made a new head for him. But yeah, I was going to ask you what these guys' deal was, but you kind of told me a little bit. So some of them became the Reavers.
Yeah, and I think that those are the only. I'm pretty sure those are the only goons who ever like branched out and became more than goons. But I mean, they're just disposable, basically mercenaries. Other than that,
yeah. So like for me, I try not to build armies too much and buy figures, but like I've got for G.I. Joe, I've got those Cobra Troopers in the blue, and I've got a lot of Stormtroopers in my Star Wars collection.
I got you into the Stormtroopers, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, if I could, if these were at Walmart, I probably would buy myself a couple of them. But yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass to buy them from Hasbro Pulse and then pay the crazy shipping and all that sort of stuff. But,
yeah,
it's pretty cool, and it's nice that they did. If we're getting our very first Hellfire figure set, it would have felt like a pretty big void to not have this guy in the collection. So it's cool that they gave us him.
Yeah, they're staples of the Hellfire Club, like community entirely. They're always, anytime the Hellfire Club is basically there, you always get a goon or two.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe they'll make Mastermind and some of those other guys is maybe not at Walmart, but maybe Hasbro Pulse exclusive. Depending on how well this sold, maybe there'll be demand for that.
I feel like it sold really well. And I mean, the box we were talking about earlier, I know a lot of people have been using that for their photography. You know how on Instagram there's all that toy photography? Because if you set them in there, like the backdrop is really beautiful.
So just as I was wrapping up my conversation with Scott, literally the last thing I said to him was, be warned, this video might end up being a little choppy. You might notice some parts were edited out. And I told him it's because every time I do one of these Skype interviews, I always seem to get some corruption in the video. The sound gets fucked up or the video. And he said, he understood. And anyway, then we said our goodbyes and we signed off. And sure enough, when I went to start editing this video, what you saw was where the video stopped working. So me telling him about how the video always gets corrupted is where the video got corrupted. So I kind of had to lop off the end of the video where we said goodbye. So I'm sorry to lose Scott so abruptly there, but I really enjoyed having him on the show. So hopefully he comes back again sometime. If you enjoyed his take on things, I strongly recommend you go and check out his YouTube channel and his Instagram, which is Great X-Mentations. So as always, I want to thank everybody for watching, and please leave comments below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, have a good one.